Good afternoon. You're very welcome to the program. You're listening to SIRAJ ZAIDI until 4 o'clock. And this is your own Apna radio broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. As you know, this is your own Apna radio. And सुनने वालों को सिराज ज़ैदी का बहुत-बहुत प्यार भरा आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. So today's program is lined up with this special occasion and all that. So this is something which is wonderful. And as usual, until 4 o'clock, I shall be here, and in India time 9:30, and you shall be entertained, informed, and hopefully like the show. So without further ado, a news of the week is here. And Charmaine, you take it away.
On India this week, an Indian university has courted controversy at the AI summit in Delhi this week after an official claimed that a Chinese-made robotic dog was its own invention. The incident came to light after a professor from 𝐀𝐩𝐧𝐚 University told state-run broadcaster DD News that the robot named Orion was developed at their Centre of Excellence. A video of her remarks went viral. Online users later identified the machine as the go-to model made by Chinese firm Unitree Robotics, which is commercially available starting at about £1,600. In a statement on Wednesday, the university denied claiming it had built the robot and described the backlash as a propaganda campaign. We would like to clearly state that the robotic programming is part of our endeavour to make students learn AI programming and develop and deploy real-world skills using globally available tools and resources, given developing AI talent is need of the hour, the university said. The incident is being seen as an embarrassment for the organisers of the summit, as the video was also shared on IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnawa's official X account. The post has since been deleted. India's IT Secretary S. Krishnan said the controversy should not overshadow the work put in by other participants at the summit. The India AI Impact Summit, inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Bharat Mandapam on Monday, is being pitched by the government as a flagship gathering to position India as a global AI hub. Delegates from more than 100 countries, including several heads of governments, are attending, alongside industry leaders such as Sundar Pichai of Google. India's Yotta Data Services will spend over $2 billion on NVIDIA's latest chips to set up an artificial intelligence computing hub as it prepares to float its shares, it said this week, delivering a boost to the country's fledgling AI drive. After concluding the mother of all trade deals with the European Union, and also what's now being termed the father of all trade deals with the United States, despite grave concerns remaining about the asymmetric nature of the interim agreement, which many say is stacked heavily in favour of the US, India has now also agreed to start talks for a deal with the Six-Nation Gulf Cooperation Council, bloc, accounting for 15% of its global trade. While directionally positive, these deals are hardly a silver bullet for faster exports growth and won't substitute for deeper trade reform, say experts. The success of any free trade agreement lies in how it is utilised, and India has historically exhibited a low utilisation rate of only about 25%, in contrast to a level of 70 to 80% among developed economies. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit, that is because for many Indian exporters, especially small companies, the burden of paperwork, audit risks, and a lack of understanding of FTA provisions often outweigh tariff benefits. Kiran Kotler, CEO of Dista, a company which helps facilitate exports compliance and documentation for brands, said the biggest gaps are around the complexity of rules of origin requirements, high documentation costs, non-tariff barriers such as testing and labelling rules, and inconsistent customs interpretation. Many exporters technically qualify for lower tariffs, but still pay full duties because providing eligibility is slow, risky or expensive, he added. According to Singapore-based Asia Decoded think tank, all major Asian exporters, including Malaysia, Bangladesh and Indonesia, have outperformed India in terms of compounded exports growth in the last decade. While India has worked hard to gain a foothold in high-tech manufacturing, making iPhone for the likes of Apple, it lags behind the others when it comes to textiles, footwear, furniture and other low-value-added goods, which are the more labour-intensive. Now that the FTAs are done and dusted, the focus in Delhi will have to shift towards streamlining these problems, experts say. India has begun easing its restrictions on buying Chinese equipment after a deadly 2020 border clash, allowing state-run power and coal companies to start limited imports as shortages and project delays mount. This is the first significant easing of 5-year curbs that have largely shut Chinese firms out of India's 700 billion to 750 billion government contract market. Since the 2020 clash, New Delhi has required Chinese bidders to register with a government panel and secure political and security clearances before competing for any state contract. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated BNP leader Tariq Rahman, the 60-year-old dynast, on a decisive victory as the Bangladesh National Party swept to a landslide in the general elections last Friday. He pledged India's support for a democratic, progressive and inclusive neighbour. He also added that he looked forward to working closely to strengthen our multifaceted relationship. The tone was forward-looking and careful since Sheikh Hasina fled to India after the Gen Z-led July 24 uprising. Ties between the neighbours have been frayed, with mistrust hardening on both sides. Hasina's Awami League, the country's oldest party, was barred from contesting the election. And finally, nearly 4 decades after it first aired on India's state broadcaster, Doordarshan, a restored version of In Which Annie Gives It Those Ones, the 1989 television film, written by Booker Prize-winning author Arundhati Roy, is set to receive its world premiere in the Berlinale Classics section of the 2026 Berlin International Film Festival. The Film Heritage Foundation, which initiated its restoration, will also release the film in select theatres across India in March, pricing tickets low to attract younger viewers. Often described as India's first English-language feature, Annie occupies a singular place in the country's cinema history. Local in texture yet cosmopolitan in voice, modest in scale yet exacting in its writing. And that's all from me. You have been listening to Apna Radio 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Thank you very much indeed, Charmaine, for a lovely news item that you put together. And this is your own local news of the week. And Arundhati Roy is an interesting character because if you look at the type of books she has written, Gods of Small Things and all the other books and the kind of vocal voice she had as a writer in the past, and also now she's focusing on various aspects of that. I mean, she's outrightly critical of the Modi government in terms of what's going on in the various quarters. So Doordarshan, fair play to Doordarshan for restoring that film. And Annie was a great film, I must say that. And I'm trying to actually get that for the film festival as well. Now, talking about what's going on in the week and what's going on this particular week is the start of today is the first of Ramadan all over the world. And people are beginning to gear towards the holy month of Ramadan. What is holy month of Ramadan? You probably would have heard of the name Ramadan. That means one of the holiest of holy month in which all Muslims throughout the world do fast and they do read Quran, they do lots of good deeds, so to speak. And next week I probably will play another clip of the Ramadan. But today I have a couple of tracks that I'm going to share it with you, and that's going to be interesting to listen to it. But what is Ramadan? Let's talk about that. For those people who do not know what Ramadan is, and they think that it's just a matter of not eating since dawn to dusk. Yes, dawn to dusk, not eating is only one aspect of that. The biggest aspect of that is charity, feeding poor people on behalf of those people who are not able to fast. Yes, not everybody is allowed to fast, basically. Those who are sick, those who have diabetes, like myself, those who have all sorts of, medical conditions, they're not allowed to fast at all. And instead, they can feed the poor people of the cost of the daily diet. So for instance, if your daily diet is about 25 quid, breakfast, lunch and modestly speaking, and the dinner, you feed for 25 euros or dollars or whatever the cost is, 250 rupees in India, you pay that sort of money to a poor person for the number of days you miss fast. So if you missed all 30 fast, you multiply that to 30, and you pay that sort of money to feed that. That is called kafara. Kafara means the compensation for not having. Otherwise, if you're fit, if you're sane, if you're healthy, if you're earning money, or even not earning money, living with your parents or whatever, and working, studying or whatever, then you must fast, because the fasting is a cornerstone of the pillar of Islam. It says in the Holy Book of Quran that fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed before you. So even before Islam, there was a fasting tradition in Judaism and other religions as well. You know, in Lent, we are in Lent in Ireland, and in Lent is more or less the same concept, but very much sort of like a different level. In Lent, you give up something which you like chocolate and all that. But here, from dawn to dusk, no water, no food, obviously. Sleep, yes, you can sleep as much as you want. No sex, no intimacy with your wife or partners. Openly, once the fasting is over, then you can make love or whatever you can with your partner, but not while you're actually in the fastings. The other important thing is that it's not only a fast of the food, it's the fast of that you don't lie, you don't hurt people while you're fasting. You also read as much as possible the Holy Book of Quran, because the reading of Quran was revealed in the month of Ramadan. So therefore, there are a lot of obligations. You can read it if you open the phone and check it out, the obligations of Ramadan, what you do in Ramadan. And these are the things. You've got to be good to people, to your parents, to your children, to your family. And it's a very much like, reflection of the introspective of your own life. If, taking a pause, taking a little bit of break from your daily routine, mundane routine, and then think about it where your life is going, and take account of your conduct. So this is something very important in the month of Ramadan. That is started for today worldwide, and 1.5 billion people worldwide who claim to be the Muslims of the world are supposed to go into this holy month. Now, those who are rich and those who can actually spend time, a lot of people do believe that if they are in Mecca or in Medina or in Saudi Arabia and Holy Prophet's place, to be in Ramadan, it's much more surreal, it's much more, holy, spiritual and all that. But doesn't have to be that way. I mean, you don't have to go there. I mean, wherever you are. If you have your local mosque, if you have a local Islamic center, attend that. They always do have iftar. Iftar is the end of the day when you open the fast, you break your fast, then this is called iftar. And sometimes a lot of people do come along, families come together, friends come together. Yes, highly recommended to invite people for iftar, because feeding people in this month is a very holy act, an act that you could actually, get benefit of that. Everything is, you are the guest of a God, basically. So it says that Rasulullah, the Prophet Muhammad, has said that you are the guest of Allah in this month. Why? Because the shaitan, we believe in Satan, everybody believes in shaitan and shaitan. They say that he's been locked up, he's been in the prison, so he can't misguide you, so you can't do bad things, you can't, disobey the laws, and you can't do all sorts of things when you are free to do so. Now, I'll reflect today some other aspect of life, that where your life is going and how you can help other people in terms of support. Sometimes the support is acute support and all that, but I will take a track today, and that's a Ramadan track. So therefore, you sit back and relax and listen to this particular track, which is a very interesting track. And then I will be back soon talking about another interesting issue that I have lined up here. Before the Sharad will talk about his issue, I will play this track.
یا رسول اللہ یا رسول اللہ یا رسول اللہ یا حبیب اللہ
بڑی امید ہے سرکار قدموں میں بلائیں گے کرم کی جب نظر ہوگی مدینے ہم بھی جائیں گے اگر جانا مدینے میں ہوا ہم غم کے ماروں کا مکین گنبد خضرا کو حال دل سنائیں گے قسم اللہ کی ہوگا وہ منظر دید کے قابل قیامت میں رسول اللہ جب تشریف لائیں گے ہم کو بلانا یا رسول اللہ ہم کو بلانا یا حبیب اللہ ہم کو بلانا یا رسول اللہ ہم کو بلانا یا حبیب اللہ ہم کو بلانا یا رسول اللہ ہم کو بلانا یا حبیب اللہ ان آنکھوں سے مدینے کا نظارہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے ان آنکھوں سے مدینے کا نظارہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے جمال گنبد خضرا کے آقا ہم بھی دیکھیں گے ہم کو بلانا یا رسول اللہ ہم کو بلانا یا حبیب اللہ
مدینہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے مدینہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے مدینہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے مدینہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے
گناہوں کے سمندر میں تو انسان ڈوب جاتے ہیں گناہوں کے سمندر میں تو انسان ڈوب جاتے ہیں جو ڈوبے کو بچاتا ہے کنارہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے جو ڈوبے کو بچاتا ہے کنارہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے جمال گنبد خضرا کے آقا ہم بھی دیکھیں گے ہم کو بلانا یا رسول اللہ ہم کو بلانا یا حبیب اللہ
یا رسول اللہ یا رسول اللہ یا رسول اللہ یا حبیب اللہ
جہاں جا کر زمانے کے سبھی غم بھول جاتے ہیں جہاں جا کر زمانے کے سبھی غم بھول جاتے ہیں سکون قلب کا خطہ وہ پیارا ہم بھی دیکھیں گے سکون قلب کا خطہ وہ پیارا ہم بھی دیکھیں گے جمال گنبد خضرا کے آقا ہم بھی دیکھیں گے ہم کو بلانا یا رسول اللہ ہم کو بلانا یا حبیب اللہ
مدینہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے مدینہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے مدینہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے مدینہ ہم بھی دیکھیں گے
وہ جس کا نام لے کر گرنے والے بھی سنبھل جائیں وہ جس کا نام لے کر گرنے والے بھی سنبھل جائیں جو ہے کونین میں اس کا سہارا ہم بھی دیکھیں گے جو ہے کونین میں اس کا سہارا ہم بھی دیکھیں گے جمال گنبد خضرا کے آقا ہم بھی دیکھیں گے ہم کو بلانا یا رسول اللہ ہم کو بلانا
हबीब अल्लाह
अदब से हाथ बांधे उनके रोजे पर खड़े होंगे अदब से हाथ बांधे उनके रोजे पर खड़े होंगे सुनहरी जालियों का यूं नजारा हम भी देखेंगे सुनहरी जालियों का यूं नजारा हम भी देखेंगे जमाले गुंबदे खजरा के आका हम भी देखेंगे हमको बुलाना या रसूल अल्लाह हमको बुलाना या हबीब अल्लाह
मदीना हम भी देखेंगे
जी मेरे भाइयों, मदीना हम भी देखेंगे. What is Medina? Medina is a place, it's a city in Saudi Arabia where the tomb of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the green dome, the famous green dome, as you would have seen in pictures and YouTubes and all that. That's where the song and the naat, as we call it, is about that. I wish I can be there. I will go there, and once I will be, once I'll be called. And it's believed, widely believed, that it's the call from that place that makes the person to be there. Not everybody can be there willy-nilly. Of course, if you have a intention, a niyat, that you probably would go for umrah, would you go for hajj, but you just go and visit as a visitor, and that's called umrah, then you probably go and be in that environment. It is considered to be the spiritual environment. People go from all over the world for looking for the hajat. Hajat means desire. Desire means that, whatever they're troubling you in life. And this is what my next question today is, that I am beginning to analyze the daily routine of life of every individual. Obviously, millions of people, billions of people exist they're not all Muslims. They're not all believing in the problems which perhaps other people, are facing. But what it is that makes you bless than the other people and the other person who is perhaps less fortunate, who has perhaps less means of living, less comfort in life, perhaps have more diseases, perhaps all of those things. And equally, the person could be very much in the belief of whatever they believe. But what is exactly is the wisdom, and everything, if it boils down to, according to the Muslims and Quran, that everything is distilled down to your faith, your iman, your belief, and corresponding practice to it. Now, believing one thing, iman one thing, knowing that some bigger power happens, but when you raise your hand in du'as, in prayer, you become something very elevated in terms of in your mind and your thinking. And somebody who is not fortunate enough to believe that way or to feel that way can actually, yes, they can have a normal life, there's no doubt about it. They can go about their daily business and they do whatever they have to do. But the person which has an extra belief has got an extra edge, as the Quran says that. Quran also talks about the fact that it says that Allah, the God, actually puts the seal in the hearts of those who do not wish to know, who do not want to know, who cannot be closer to the God, to Allah. And the only people are guided those who wish to be guided. And this is a very strange surah and a passage in a writing, that why God has got a scheme for everybody and everything. Certain people are, as I said, due to the fact that they have X, Y, and Z problems in life, that they are away. And sometimes they are outrightly atheist, like Mr. Javed Akhtar, who does not believe in the existence of God. So anything the gods actually have attributes. So obviously he does not believe in Prophet Muhammad. He does not believe in the children of Prophet Muhammad. And all of that because somebody has said that once you start believing in one thing, that you have to believe all the way down to Imam Mahdi, the 12th Imam, the 12th apostle of Rasulullah. So let's not believe in anything. And therefore, there's another version of life is floating around. The people are beginning to, reject everything. Reject everything. Why? Because it doesn't make sense to them. And they give examples, stupid examples. Perhaps not stupid from their point of view. Perhaps they see that these are the legitimate example that why innocent people are getting killed in daily wars. Now, wars, I've got a problem with wars because I'm a man of peace. I believe in tranquility, peace, and something that is... But when I hear in the news that, Ukraine has been attacked every day, right, left, and center by the Russians, and indeed the powerhouse has been blown away in the minus 50 degree or minus 15 degree or 10 degrees, freezing cold, and there's no heating, there's no electricity, power, especially the energy centers have been targeted by Mr. Putin. Now, that type of inhuman, behavior of any human being, such as Putin, could cause a concern about that they do not have. So humanity on the earth is subject to the mercy of superpowers or anybody who is power. You find yourself lucky enough to living in a country or in a place which are civilized, which believe in human values, which believe in human rights, which believes in that you have a right to be warm in the winter, you have a right to have enough food in your house, in your fridge, you have a right to move from A to B in a decent transport. So basic social civil rights of a human being is the responsibility of somebody who's governing you. And who's governing you? The governments of the day, the people who are running the ruling party and all that. But when the politicians are behaving like Donald Trump is behaving in America, putting excessive force of ICE and putting people in jail for something. Oh yeah, talking about that. And a hardworking labor guy from Donegal, married to an American girl, I'm forgetting his name, but he's been thrown out in a detention center where there's no sanitation, there's no water, there's nothing, and he was just overstepped a little bit in his. He has all the green card criteria. He had been living there legally for a while, but then he become illegal little bit, overstepped, and he. How many people are in Ireland or in the UK overstepped, but nobody throws them in a detention center? This is the difference, same as in Europe. Yes, there are laws of immigration. You live there according to your status, your work status, your visa status, corresponds to your studies or whatever. But for some reason, if you overstayed, that does mean that you've been thrown out in detention center. And similarly, things are happening in different parts of the world. And that is inhumane. That is inhumane. The earth belongs to people. And somewhere else in Quran says the same thing, that when you die and you sort of meet the angels or whatever, and they'll ask you that were you oppressed in the land you were living? And you said, yes, I was. So the answer would be that, what was the earth, the size of the earth, of God's earth was not big enough for you to emigrate. So the literal sense, the immigration and emigration is very much part of the human existence. Human existence is a very interesting thing and hazardous thing. In fact, during the time of your existence on this earth, you could be facing a number of challenges, starting from your own family, starting from your own brothers and sisters, siblings, children, parents, and then leading up to your colleagues, work colleagues, and all that. So at every step you are facing the challenges. The challenges is that you are depending upon something and somebody. And so therefore boils down to one and only one thing is education. Why? Education. Doesn't matter what type of education you take, but that should benefit your existence in the world. It should give you enough means to earn living. It should give you enough means to understand the human nature and the pain of the other human being, and to understand that the world is about to share, is about sharing things. If you have surplus resources, you must share that. If you have extra money, you must give it away. You're not stacking away for unforeseeable future and all that. So charity in this month of Ramadan is also, it boils down to this point that I'm talking about it, is that also very important that you must pay charity, sadaqah, feed poor people, and indeed, give as much charity as you can. And then, this is one of those beauty of this month, that you must understand that. So existence on this earth is not, as I said, by all means, is not easy. It's the most toughest of the tough. And particularly if you have a tough task, by creating a different project for yourself, by creating a different difficult task for yourself, then you must fight. And you fight with all your might to overcome that. So therefore you can be, living in existence in reasonably amount of comfort and peace. Anyway, that leads me to another question that I have to actually play the Sharad Awasthi's clip, and that is something that is going to create another interesting thing that I'm going to play. And so sit back, relax, and enjoy this piece of information.
So today I'm going to do some plain talking. India and the United States have built a massive trade relationship over the period of time. In 2024, total bilateral trade in goods and services crossed about $200 billion, which is roughly 19 lakh crore Indian rupees. And this is not a small number. This is a scale of an economic corridor between the two major powers, largest democracy and largest economy of the world. But numbers alone do not tell the truth. The truth lies in the structure. The truth lies in who gains from this partnership and whether this is a partnership. And the truth lies in whether India is negotiating from position of strength or drifting into submission or losing the very trade balance. Is India the tariff loser? So let's begin with some facts. On the trade side, India exports about $41 billion, 3.7 lakh crore Indian rupees. On the goods trade, the United States export $41 billion worth of goods, about 3.7 lakh crores worth of goods to India. And India, on the other hand, exports about 87 billion, about 7.8 crore to United States. So that means America runs a goods deficit, nearly $45 billion. In services, the trade is almost balanced, and the US exports compared to Indian is about $41 billion. So that's a fair deal. So in any way, India is not exploiting United States. India is competitive. India is efficient in sending out those goods and services. And of course, India is exporting value. Then why is this rush to concede? Why this anxiety to appease United States in the latest 2026 US-India trade deal? India was negotiating with United States for about 2 years, and then suddenly the Epstein files come into picture. They are disclosed. Names of our minister and Mr. Modi and Anil Ambani, all those names appear in Epstein files, who is a child sex convict. And suddenly, overnight, the deal comes through. And the details of the deal is devastating to the economy of India. As you are going to see, I'm going to explain how it is so. So between 2010 and 2017, US tariffs on Indian goods were largely moderate. Many were nearly zero, but most below 5%. India, on the other hand, maintained higher tariff on sensitive sectors like agriculture, dairy, alcoholic beverages, and some consumer goods like motorcycles, vehicles. And yes, these duties reached from 100% to even 150%. So the Harley Davidson motorcycle, which very few people and very rich people in India wants to buy that, they were charged 150%, which is fair to the Indian population, the poor Indian population who are fed. Half of the Indian population is fed with free 5 kilos of ration every month. So considering that, it is an alright tariff. But there is a context. India is not a post-industrial consumer economy. It is still an agrarian civilization supporting hundreds of millions of rural citizens. Just travel 50 miles outside any major metro city in the world and you see the level of poverty, the level of economic hardship people are facing. So consider what happens recently. In 2025, the United States abruptly introduces 10% baseline tariff. When I say United States, it's Donald Trump. And imposed an additional 25 to 26% reciprocal tariff targeting India. In some cases, the effective tariff reached 50%. On top of it, another 25% because India is importing Russian oil. So this current US-India trade deal did not start as a partnership. It started as a pressure, as bullying, as sort of a blackmail. But why? Keep that question in mind. And instead of responding with firmness, what did India do? Indians negotiated, drifting towards duty-free access to all American agricultural and other goods to India. So let's examine how agriculture is taken. India produces 4.3 million metric tons of maize annually. How much does United States produce? 10 times, 42 million metric tons. India produces roughly 15 to 16 metric tons of soybean. United States produce around 120, which is like 6 times, 7 times more. So there is no comparable scale. This is asymmetry. And now when a country with this massive surplus production like United States, they gain a zero duty access into India, into price sensitive Indian market, what happens? The prices are going to fall. Our poor farmers who are already poor will suffer. And rural purchasing power will further weaken. It is in poor condition. This will further weaken. And we are told that cheaper imports benefit consumers. You know who is saying this? The chairman of the Indian Finance Commission. And this is only just a biased half-truth. Cheap imports today can destroy domestic production tomorrow. Agriculture in India is not merely economic activity. It's a livelihood. It's a social stability. It is a civilizational continuity, and this government tends to forget that. And now let's talk about subsidies. The United States provide approximately $16 billion worth of subsidy to its own farmers, which is about 1.45 lakh crore annual subsidies. And what does India give? A meager rupees 6,000 per family under income support scheme. Now, where is the level playing field? Who is designing these US-India trade deal? And when Indian farmers are asked to compete against these heavily subsidized excess supplies from American agribusiness without equivalent state backing, what exactly are we defending? Indian farmers are sitting duck. We are not defending free trade. We are defending imbalance. This government is defending US government, US farmers, not the Indian farmers. Let's have another example. Let us turn to cotton and textiles. India is one of the largest producer of cotton. Our textile sector employs millions across states like Maharashtra, where BJP is in power, Gujarat, BJP is in power, Telangana, Punjab, and Tamil Nadu. And India exports cotton and yarn worth $2.7 billion, around 24,000 crore Indian rupees to Bangladesh, our neighbor. And Bangladesh then exports garment to United States. So this is how the chain of goods happen. So now Bangladesh receives zero tariff access in the US market, while India faces higher duties. So Indian finished textiles are going to be less competitive. And if Bangladesh now begins to source cotton from United States because of zero tariff, instead of India, our farmers are going to lose twice. We are sandwiched. And we are already importing American cotton worth 3,400 crores. So what we are trying to say is this current government, is Modi's government trying to convert the Indian farmers into something else by taking away their livelihood, their agricultural livelihood, just to please and appease the American farmers. The chairman of the Finance Commission of India, Dr. Arvind Panagrihe, he wrote an article in Economic Times a couple of days ago, and I was absolutely disgusted and dismayed because he used an example of protectionist corn law of 1840 as an example of Britain. According to that law, there were tariff on the corn grown in Britain. So the government repealed that law. And our chairman, the Finance Commission of India, is giving that example, saying that look at Britain, they also removed tariff. So what's wrong India is doing? Let me ask him if he's listening. Who were growing the corn in Britain at the time, 1840? Rich Tory farmers. And who were suffering? The workers, the laborers of Britain, because the corn prices were high and the bread was therefore very expensive. It was called hungry 40s. And there was another problem. At the time, the potato crops failed. So people were dying hungry in Britain. Compare it with India. The Indian farmers are already poor. So how can the chairman of Indian Finance Commission compare the repealing, the removing of the tariff in these two cases? On top of it, our esteemed newspaper called Economic Times of India or the Economic Times, the editor publishes this ridiculous argument. So this is altogether another episode of Godi media. And I would say this is a misinformation together to support the American farmers. Now consider the energy. India imported crude oil worth 168 billion, about 15 lakh crores from Russia between 2022 and 26 this year because of the Russian-Ukrainian war. And these imports reportedly saved India about $20 billion because of the discounted pricing. We all know that. Currently, who is the Petroleum Minister of India? Hardeep Singh Puri, the same man who is now revealed to be another Modi's man, talking to that child sex convict called Epstein. Who is the other Modi man? Anil Ambani, you know that. So even after the disclosure of Hardeep Puri in the Epstein files, this minister is not resigning and shamelessly clinging on to his portfolio. And why is he Modi's man? Allegedly because he had discussed Digital India and Make in India with Epstein months before Modi government itself declared these government schemes. And this Hardeep Puri was neither member of the ruling BJP nor government official then. Still, he was bypassing our Indian highly competent and learned foreign service diplomats. I feel really sorry for our foreign service who have protected Indian interests irrespective of the government at Delhi. Hats off to them. And the way this government is running a shadow service using Anil Ambani, Hardeep Puri, or for that matter, killings in Canada using some Bishnoi gang. I mean, as the details are emerging, it is not fair to the Indian civil services. Therefore, when US says that India has to stop buying Russian oil and purchase the US and the Venezuelan oil, there is something fishy in the US trade deal. And energy is not a moral debate. Energy is economic survival of India. If geopolitical pressure forces India to abandon cost-effective suppliers like Russia and purchase higher-priced alternatives, the inflation in India is going to rise. The fertilizer prices are going to rise. Transport cost is going to rise. Manufacturing is going to become less competitive. And once again, ordinary Indians have to pay the price. Here is a bigger bully in the US trade deal. We are told that this US-India trade deal has to necessarily be $500 billion exports of US to India. This means about $100 billion every year India have to import from US. And that includes a clause in the trade agreement called other products, other than those agricultural and vehicles and manufacturing products at zero tariff. So in effect, India is going to import double the value of American cheap goods because they are in surplus. This is going to severely hit the Indian market. So why then should India negotiate as though it is the weaker party? Trade negotiations are not charity discussions. They are an exercise of power in a friendly way. The United States is protecting its farmers fiercely. It is protecting its technology giants aggressively, like the Facebook, the Googles. We are not even trying to own the Indian data. All the Indian data is sitting in servers of United States with the owner of these tech giants. Now we are not owning our agriculture also. US defends its strategic interest unapologetically. And why India must approach negotiations with hesitation. India is a sovereign civilization. We are not subordinate market awaiting approval of Donald Trump. Free trade, of course, is valuable when it is only reciprocal, equal to equal. And we know that until now, Indian exports were barely tariffed at 5% or below that. So why all of a sudden 18%? Look at the timing of the Epstein files. Look at the timing where the names of the Indian Prime Minister through the backdoor channel of Hardeep Puri and Anil Ambani have come into picture. This certainly do not implicate them in any kind of a crime. But ethically, when we know that Epstein was convicted in child sex activities, why was Indian government engaging with that man? After reading through the statement, the summary and the full statement of the US-India trade deal, one can only conclude, like the East India Company, the current government of India have sold its prized agriculture, prized manufacturing, Indian talent at a very cheap price to the United States. And what is the compulsion? We still do not know. Certainly, we are not pursuing our economic policy with dignity. Farmers in Vidarbha, soya bean growers in Madhya Pradesh, cotton cultivators in Gujarat, textile workers in Tirupur, engineers and call centers in Bangalore. These are not really statistics. They are the foundation of the modern Indian economy. And the policy decisions made in these negotiation rooms, they reverberate across villages and industrial clusters. So, this exercise is certainly not going to help India. It is a kind of a surrender. It is not a partnership. It is not cooperation. It is capitulation. India needs respect. And if we are not rejecting this US-India trade deal, of course, we know that this has not come to the parliament. It was not discussed in the parliament. It was not discussed in any public forum. If at all in future, India is going to abide by the US trade deal, we are actually surrendering to the might of United States. As an example, when India was not even an economic punctuation in the global economy, Indian diplomacy stood up against the United States bombing of Libya. Today, we have stopped buying oil from Iran, who had been our loyal partners all through the ages. Next, we are going to stop buying Russian oil, who had been our friendly superpower right through the Cold War and the dark times. The question is, why this U-turn of friendship? Why this U-turn of bilateral to a complete economic surrender? With those serious concerns and with those sympathy for our Indian diplomats and negotiators, I leave you until next week. Stay safe, stay informed, dutifully ask questions. At the end of the day, somebody has to stand up. Bye for now.
Dublin South FM. You wouldn't buy a car without knowing its history. So why would you buy a story without knowing who's telling it? Come here and I tell you. It's not always easy to verify what you see, read or hear. But now there's help. Visit www.bemediasmart.ie. Stop, think, check. Be Media Smart. Brought to you by Media Literacy Ireland, supported by RTE. 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Welcome back to the programme, and that is indeed 93.9 Dublin South FM, broadcasting from Dundrum Trans Centre and trying to actually make sense of the world we live in. And as I was talking to you earlier on, and listening to fantastic, once again, and the analysis, the quality of an analysis of Sharad is getting indeed, program by program progressing and telling the truth. Now, picking up the 2 points that he is saying, that we are going towards the direction of slavery, doing the colonialism that was at the time of the British Empire and now the American Empire. So the American empires are literally telling that you idiots, Indian, do this, 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 this. Otherwise, you will be, punished for this, this, this. No, where is the pride, as Sharad has said? Where is the independence? Where is the republic? All of that is at stake, and we are surrendering to the wishes of the United States of America, and severing ties with people like Iran, which we have supplied oil, crude oil. In a difficult times, Iran has actually said that they will take in barter gold, not in dollars, because they have a problem with, and they have said rejected United States of America even 43 years, 44 years, 47 years ago, when the revolution, Islamic revolution of Iran took place. So they have rejected and survived and thrived in the world. Similarly, if you have, but the problem is the middle corruption. The people like Ambani, like Adani, like Hardeep Singh Puri, and I'll tell you about Hardeep Singh Puri, who came here to Ireland, and again, I was invited at the Indian embassy, which is obviously serving the government, and indeed, a theatre of absurd has been created there because they were being flown in to commemorate the, off the cork of the blown away Air India flight, which actually landed at the coast of the Cork. Ahakista is the place near Cork, where every year the commemoration takes place. But what happens this year? Hardeep Singh Puri, the Sikh fella, a corrupt and an Epstein file case now has been talked about it, with him and all that, came with 6 other Sikh fellow, endorsed by the government of India, and indeed claiming that, India has no problem with this separatist Sikh or Khalistan at all. They are okay. And therefore, this is the example that Hardeep Singh Puri, the cabinet minister, is leading the delegation of these 5 Sikhs people. And it was an absurd setting that everybody has been given a few minutes to talk about it, that India is hand in gloves with the government. And of course, these corrupt politicians like Hardeep Singh Puri are very much part and parcel of that corruption, which is being endorsed by our own ambassador, Mr. Akhilesh Mishra, whom we just gave him the farewell last night through the Ireland-India Business Association. Mr. Mishra has been pretty controversial, to say the least, from my point of view, because he stopped my grant as soon as he came into power here as an ambassador. In kind, yes, he has written a letter and he has supported the festival in perpetuity, but not in finance way. I did not say that up until now, but now, because his tenure is over and he's about to leave Ireland, I would articulate this point that let's talk about it. I'm not happy. I was never happy on this point. And to make the matter worse, I have written an explanation few times and not a single letter was replied. So, I mean, obviously there was a policy there not to support something about the film industry. InTac, FinTac, WinTac was being talked about it, MedTac, Syntax, whatever in the meetings, but never ever had been talked about the film industry. My contribution, because perhaps my name is SIRAJ ZAIDI, perhaps I'm an Indian Muslim, perhaps this policy of not supporting Indian Muslim is something that is very much... Anyway, I don't want to go too much in detail on that, but I'm saying that because I got hurt with this kind of reaction. And I'm hoping that the next ambassador will not toe the line and would support my annual film festival of India. Anyway, this is this Hardeep Singh Puri's point, that what he's been talking about, Sharad has been mentioning, is that over and above the technocrats, over and above the qualified people of the of the so-called civil servant, has been undermined by unelected member, by people who are cronies individual, and that is not acceptable. Anyway, time is running out, and I want you to get one more clip, and not clip but song, in fact, related to Ramadan. So Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak to all of them, happy Ramadan to all of them who are fasting and feasting at night, and fasting during the day and feasting at night, and indeed celebrating the blessed month in which everybody is welcomed, everybody is a guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all that. So bye for now, and thank you again for listening. My Apna radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM, and therefore I signed off with this track And I'll be back same time, same place next week. Don't forget to tune me in. Bye for now.
खुशियाँ मनाओ लोगों, रमज़ान आ रहा है। खुशियाँ मनाओ लोगों, रमज़ान